So we stopped at your story with you talking about like working at Backstage and everything. Let's kind of get back to that. Like, so how did that whole thing play out, and what happened after there?
Oh, thank you. Well, I worked there till about, I'd say from 2008 to 2012, and then they merged and had new owners, and so they were no longer having outside columnists, which actually worked out pretty well for me because I had started kind of going in this direction of writing my own project for TV. I had gotten inspired because I was like, I guess I'm going to try to write. But another person came to me. It always comes from this outside source. So it's kind of interesting where we're talking about always follow somebody coming to you and offering you something.
Yeah.
I think it does lead to good things for yourself. I had a neighbor that lived next door at the time, and she worked at Nickelodeon. And she kind of said, "Hey, Heidi, I know you're doing this show." Well, let me backtrack. I was doing this very funny show. It was called Read to Me, Heidi, which hasn't come out yet because we need to finish editing it. But anyway, it was a bit ago. But well, it's come out, but just portions of it, not the whole thing. Okay, so I'll just say that there's portions of Read to Me, Heidi out there. Anyway. But the whole full essence of the series hasn't come out yet. Anyway, it was this thing where I was shooting in my apartment, reading stories for children. It was a children's story where, because of my voiceover, I would do puppetry or whatever. I had a sidekick puppet, Millicent, Heidi, why would he do that? Meh. And I'd have to say, well, Millicent, I had a little hat and I was the Read to Me Heidi girl. So I would read these stories for children. So it would be Hans Christian Andersen, The Ugly Duckling or whatever. And so that was my first story that I did. And so my neighbor knew that I was doing this stuff in the apartment. And she's like, I know you're doing this other comedy stuff. And so they were looking at Nickelodeon at the time for some stories that dealt with not just the kids as the leads, but adults as well. So kind of like a Nick at Night thing, where it would still have to be incorporating with children, but in the story, but not necessarily the leads. And I said, oh, so she said, write something for me. I kind of want to maybe go into a new area of, I don't want to just do this one area. Maybe I'll be able to parlay into something else over there. Why don't you get me a script and all, whatever. So this thing led me into researching. Now, like I said, I used to read a lot of feature scripts, and I read at the time back then, I read some TV. So, but every show for TV is different because they'll have a different format if you're writing for something that's already on TV. If you're writing your own spec script, which is what this thing was, I was basing it on kind of what they were looking for in some of the other shows on Nickelodeon, but those are mostly based on just kids being the leads. So I kind of was doing my own thing. So I got a chance to look at some scripts, and of course I went and purchased the program Final Draft to be able to type it all, whatever. And I worked on this idea, and it took me about 1.5 years or so. And so I got some people to read it. I had a reading in my apartment here, 16 people. This guy that I know, a friend of mine, is a comedian, and he is funny as all heck. He is so funny. Oh my God. He's one of the funniest guys I know through her, but he's just so cute. Anyway, he read some of it, and he helped me with some of the one-liner comedy bits in it or whatever, because he wrote for Don Rickles, or he wrote with Don Rickles or whatever. He's an amazing comedian and stand-up guy, this guy. Anyway, so he helped me with that, and we had a reading in my apartment. There was a friend who wanted to help produce, and I had a bunch of my actor friends here, and they were reading it or whatever. I learned a whole bunch from that, and I changed it a billion times just off of different people that I respected in the industry. I have a fabulous friend. She was the first person that really helped me before any of this in the apartment that took place, or the comedy friend that helped me. My friend Pam, she wrote for all kinds of TV stuff, and she helped read it and give me advice about different, pilots, what they're looking for and what you're supposed to do with plot. And, I knew all of that anyway, but not 100% like she knows it, because she's an amazing TV writer. So I listened to that, and she told me her thoughts on things, and so I changed this thing 1,000,000 times. It's called the Lollipop Gang. Can't tell you anything else about it, or I'll have to kill you. It's secret. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's a comedy, so it's a fun, lighthearted thing, and so a bunch of different people are reading it now, and I got it to some cool people at different places. I've had some meetings, and I've pitched it around at different places, and so I'm excited.
Yeah.
Very excited about it. It's So obviously, this is where the writing came from somewhere else. The idea, why don't you write your own blah, blah, blah. Put yourself in it. You know, whatever. Okay, so one of those parts is something I wrote for myself.
Cool.
It's not like the ultra lead, but it's one of the, you know, supporting leads. And so she's a wacky chick that does voiceover, just happens to have that in her side pocket of tricks, you know. And so, but, you know, I'm an actor. I'm not just a voice actor, but for this character, I thought it would be funny to have her be a struggling voice actor. It's always good if the character is struggling because that makes them more likable, you know.
Yeah.
But,
more depth.
yeah. So anyway, so that happened. And so that's something that would never have happened if somebody didn't come and say, hey, you should write this blah, blah, blah thing. Not saying that these days actors don't take control and write their own things or produce their own things.
Right.
But I think it's kind of cool when you have an opportunity, if you could write your own thing and get other people's opinions, what they think of it, and get really good constructive opinions, you know, where you don't get insulted or anything. You just got to be open for hearing what constructive, you know, people say. Hey, this doesn't work. I didn't really get that. This doesn't, and then you just change it. And if you feel that you don't agree with them, you don't change it. Mm-hmm. You know. So it took me almost about 2 years before I really got it perfected, and then it's being sent out now. But I'm happy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, I got it to some people for representation and different pitch meetings and things, and so I'll keep you posted about what happens with that. But that's just another thing going on the whole highway of different side shoots that you should do as an actor, I think, these days. You know, websites and everything these days, you can house all kinds of stuff about yourself up there.
Yeah.